8:45. I actually would have gotten off early this morning, but I woke up and I had like 3 biggish dreams to write down. And I know if I don't sit there and intentionally write them out, that they will just disappear and I'll forget them completely. And so I have a habit of waking up and writing those dreams out as quickly as possible, whether that's in the middle of the night or when I wake up. So this morning was around 5:30 when I woke up, and I just get my Apple Notes out on my phone and I just write it out as plainly as possible and try not to miss any details. And I will sit on those later today and sit with the Holy Spirit and just look at the symbolism and work out what it is that God is saying to me. Is honestly so special, knowing that the Lord speaks to you through the night. And if you can learn to understand how to interpret your dreams and understand what God is saying to you, your walk with God is just so exciting, because He's literally speaking to your past, your present, and your future throughout all different dreams, whether that's correcting you, whether that's guiding you, helping you with decisions. And I know that I've been quite prayerful with my wife around a few things in our life lately, and He could be answering any number of those things, which is cool. Sometimes I don't always get the interpretation straight away. I might just shelf them and look at them at another time, because if I try to force the interpretation out in my flesh because I just want to tick that box, then oftentimes I'll get it wrong or just won't get as much depth out of it as I probably could have. So it's better to just be in a good state of mind, a good place of just restfulness, and not in a rush to try and understand what God's trying to say. Otherwise, no doubt you'll end up getting something out of your dreams that is just not aligned whatsoever. So I try not to rush it. I'm going to try and knock out like 30 minutes at the gym. Hopefully my boys stay asleep while I'm there. And I think today I'm going to do legs. Try to knock that out earlier in the week because it's not so fun. So today, like I mentioned, is my boy's birthday, and my boy is turning 4 today. I'm reminded that 2 years ago in 2024, it was around June, and we were right in the thick of our wilderness season, and I was in the wrestle of my life. All our accounts had dried up. I essentially sold everything I could. A lot of the camera gear that I could sell, I sold. Like my home gym weights, everything was going, and we still didn't have income at this point. I'm still obeying the Lord to the best of my ability, whether I seem to have been going too far or whether I was right in alignment. I can't fully know. I was just doing my best, but I had this fear of God on me to not go back to the old, go back to the old business that I'd laid down back in 2022. And so it was my birthday in June. I remember this so clearly, and we were at the end of ourselves. And it came around to July, and it was my boy's birthday, the same boy whose birthday it is today. I was in such a tension because I literally don't have money to buy my own son presents, and this is at a point where, like many times before this, I was like, Lord, I've obviously lost my mind. This has gone way too far. If I'm at the point where I can't provide for my own son's birthday, like this is pretty screwed. Like I've obviously totally misread you. I've totally misinterpreted things. I'd obviously just lost my mind. Like I've gone absolutely crazy. And no one knew at this point we were in this situation. We didn't share it with anyone. This whole journey was between us and God, my wife, God, and myself. So no one knew we were in this situation. We weren't going to ask for handouts or anything like that. It was the day before his birthday, and we get a knock at the door. And my wife had just been praying that day as well, like, Lord, just $50, just something that we can go and, you know, get our boy some gifts for his birthday the next day. And there's a knock at the door, and my beautiful sister rocks up, and we had been sick that week. And so she was turning up. She had texted me saying she was going to bring a meal round for us because, you know, our whole family was basically unwell at this point. And she has a little envelope, and she says to me, hey, sorry, like, I didn't get time to cook a meal, but here's this. And she hands me this little card in an envelope, and she leaves, drives off, and I open it up, and inside is $50. And my sister had never done this before. This was so out of the blue. And Beck and I just looked at each other like, oh my goodness. God literally came through right at the last minute. Like, this is his literal manna in the wilderness moment, where money came through just at the right time. Just when I thought I wasn't going to be able to provide for my son for his birthday, feeling like I'd totally lost the plot, because if it's gotten to this point, then something's wrong. Then I've gone too far. Then I've overstepped, I've overstepped the line where God was actually asking me to go to. But God came through. He's such a good God. He comes through. Sometimes it feels late. Sometimes it feels way overdue. Sometimes you're going to freak out and feel like you're at the end of yourself before he comes through, but he does come through when you totally trust him and you depend on him. And now here we are, 2 years later. It's my son's birthday again. And I'm just reminded of God's goodness, that, you know, he comes through. You can trust him. You can depend on him. And you can walk in obedience to what he's instructing you, even at the expense of a business, even at the expense of your savings account, even at the expense of your income and all these securities and comforts and all these things. At that time when we didn't have money, like, there were so many needs that you could say weren't being met, in terms of subscriptions having to be cut off, and, you know, our meals look so simple. It was just like pasta and bread, and things looked so basic. And that was some of the hardest months of our life. And not that our boys recognized that, because we shielded them from that season. Beck and I, my wife and I, knew we were in a very specific, intentional season of testing. And sometimes maybe we thought we were tripping out and that we'd lost our mind, but we come back to our senses and no, the Lord is testing us in our trust. This is a test of trust. Do we trust the Lord to come through for us when we let go of the reins, when we let go of trying to provide for ourselves? And not that the business was bad, not that, businesses are good, earning money is good, providing for your family is good. But if you're walking in step with the Lord and he's instructing you to do something that is counterintuitive to what you would naturally do, you're going to have to let go of that and surrender. And my family never went without. My family never went without shelter and food. Basic needs were met during that season, and I could open that up even more and touch upon just how crazy that season was. But just today I felt to share that, because if you ever get to that point, whether it's outside of your control or whether you willingly stepped out of the boat, you let go of a business or a job, or maybe you gave a significant amount of your money to a ministry or to someone or whatever the Lord instructed you to do, and now you're going, Lord, like, my situation is worse than what it was before. My situation is a complete 180 to what it was before you asked me to step out of the boat and walk by faith. And that is our story. I was so excited when I laid down that business. I had this naivety around God's going to open another door straight away. And it didn't happen. We walked through a very long wilderness. And I feel like just now in 2026, we're just starting to try to step into some new territory, some new assignments, some new things. Yet it's been a long time of being told, no, don't touch this, no, not now. And so it's interesting, there's been that little shift from a very long waiting season what felt like idleness, but just a deep, deep, deep work in us, to now the Lord speaking to new things. And I tell you this, the obedience and the surrender doesn't stop when you're coming out the other side of the wilderness, because you are now potentially, most likely, stepping into things that you didn't choose. While I chose willingly to step out of my business, it was still like the Lord was inviting me, yet instructing me at the same time, and I gave him my yes. And so it's like, I know that the Lord was on that, and now I know the Lord's on some new things that I'm trying to step out into, which right now, it sounds strange for me. Like, being honest, it looks like stepping into a new role in like real estate. And so I spent yesterday and last night just putting together like a resume for the first time ever. I've never had to put a resume together because I've always been self-employed. I've always ran my own business. And so this is just a step of obedience for me to write that out and to just very naturally go and hand that in and see where that all leads. As I said previously, I had stepped into a company for a number of months, put in a lot of time and a lot of free work in terms of my skill set. I was putting in a lot of making content and all this stuff, and it didn't go anywhere. Yet the Lord continues to speak to this industry. And so it's something I never would have picked up myself. It's nothing that I said, oh man, I have a passion for property or real estate. Honestly, I never have. And I know there's all these cliches and stigmas around agents. And I know every time I talk to someone about the fact that I was studying that and stepping into that, it's always, the same classic stigmas of real estate agents, especially in the area that I live, which is funny. Something that I have to just work through and just own it, because the Lord's asked me to step into this pathway, and I have no idea where it's going to lead. But I'm just trying to be faithful to what he's showing me. And so all that to say, the Lord's so good. He will come through for you, even if you're at the end of yourself, even if you're at the end of your bank account, even if you have no idea where to go from where you are currently. He is Jehovah Jireh. He will go before you. And I think one thing I had to learn in terms of my needs being met, especially for my family, I had 2 kids at the time. We completely ran out of money in 2024, which is very vulnerable for me to say, because I've never really shared that. But, I've learned that so often what we call needs are really wants, if we really stripped things down to, am I being sustained? Is my family being sustained right now? And I wrestled with that in 2024. And the truth be told, they were. We had food in our bellies, we had shelter. Our life was extremely, extremely limited. And there was many things that we couldn't do, many places we couldn't go to, many things at the grocery store we couldn't buy. Sometimes we didn't have petrol, but we still got to church. We still got to the places we needed to. Somehow we still got through that season, and we were clinging on to God every single day. And now, we're coming out the back end of that wilderness, and now my wife and I continue to cling on to the Lord with everything we have. And that is one of the goals of the wilderness, that you go through it, you let go of everything that you're holding on to, everything that you feel like is keeping your life secure and safe and predictable, all that control that we love to hold on to, and we let go of that. There's a freaking out stage between letting go and then reattaching to our Father, to God. But man, is there a freedom when you don't have that fear of lack, that fear of that scarcity mindset, that what if I lose my job? What if we don't have money to pay our bills? What if? And don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry of itself. Look how the Lord cares for the lilies and the birds. And that scripture in Matthew, we got to get that in us, because it's so true. We're trying to get back to this complete childlike dependency on God, walking step by step with the Lord, knowing that our Father will never leave us nor forsake us. And I didn't live like that for so long. My wife didn't live like that for so long. I didn't know the Christian journey could be like this, that you could be so dependent on the Lord and so safe and secure in his hands, having my entire life in his hands and not holding anything back. And so this is a beautiful place to get to, but it's not an easy one, because you have to travel through the wilderness and you have to many times willingly walk through it in obedience. And too many people stop short. Too many people stop short of where God's trying to take them, because they are still trying to control their own life. And a good test of this is like, how tightly are you holding on to your 5-year plan or your 10-year plan? Your dreams of living in said place, your dreams of living in some specific area, or, we want to upgrade our house by this year, and then we want to have an investment property by this year, and then our kids are going to go to this school. It's like, it's good to have plans, but the Lord's going to direct our steps. And many times he has more of an opinion on our decisions than we think, but we have to let him in. We can just take the reins. We can just take full control of our life. But the end result will just be a result that we that we derive from ourselves, limited by our capabilities and our intellect and our wisdom. But we want to rely on the Lord's wisdom. Don't lean on your own understanding, but trust in the Lord with all your heart, because his wisdom and his ways are so much higher than ours. And so the wilderness is a cutting off of your dependence on so many idols and so many things in your life, and becoming so tethered to Father God that when it's time that you exit, you come out completely clinging onto him with everything you have, so that when you step into the new assignment and into the new day, you are clinging to him with everything, and you've gone through that character refinement. So you need to let the Lord do his work in your life. Don't rush the season. I wish I had really taken that on when I heard people say, don't rush your waiting season, don't rush your wilderness season. Everything in us wants to escape. But it's like, let the Lord do his work, because if you rush it, you'll probably end up just doing circles in the wilderness and having to repeat specific tests that the Lord's trying to teach you. And I'd love to open up, what some of those tests look like for my wife and I during that season. But for now, it's 6:45 and my boys usually wake up at 7 a.m. and it's my boy's birthday, so I ain't gonna be late. I gotta be present when that little boy wakes up. So yeah, I hope this encouraged someone, and see you in the next video.